Welcome to Media Melanie TV. Today I'm back to talk about Only Murders in the Building, Season 5, Episode 6, called Flatbush, aptly named because Oliver ends up going back to his childhood stomping grounds in an effort to investigate exactly what's going on between our widows, Lorraine/Rainey, and Sophia Cacciamilio, and investigate exactly what was exchanged between the two of them. But the best part of the episode, besides some of these flashbacks we see from Oliver's youth, which definitely give us a little more context into who Oliver is and why he is the way he is, Loretta is back, albeit not for the best reasons. Unfortunately, her apartment burned down due to a malfunctioning tea kettle wire. So she's not in the best state of mind, but she snaps back into it pretty quickly when she gets to go undercover as this character that never ended up appearing on SVU. Again, I love anytime a show mentions another show within it, especially if they're not from the same parent company. We also had Fee returning to the building, and I've got to say, Beanie Feldman, who plays this character, really adds an extra layer of youthful and modern comedic depth, something that we do get from Selena Gomez as Mabel, but being that Charles and Oliver are obviously senior citizens, I like having some young blood here. Then we had Bash surfacing as an antagonist. It turns out he owns the tech company that was messing with the footage from the fountain from whoever broke into Charles's apartment and stole the finger. Now we have to figure out why. Why is he involved? Are the other billionaires also in on this somehow? They all bought up the ownership rights to Wonderfy so the trio couldn't podcast about them. I'm not putting it out of the realm, although I will say, at the beginning of all this, I was thinking there's no way they're going to introduce these billionaires so early. It's got to be just a red herring. Perhaps they're tangentially involved with everything going on with the casino room inside of the Arconia. But now I'm starting to think, okay, is Bash the one who is heading all of this? Or is it more just because he's in it for the surveillance part? But if he has a hand in editing the footage, who is he covering for? Is it himself? Is it one of the billionaires? Is it somebody else? And could it even be Thea, who just happened to also resurface in the same episode? Not putting anything past the writers of Only Murders in the Building. It's at this point in the season, usually somewhere around episode 8, where we really start to figure out who the killer is. So it's maybe a little bit early, but with this progression and the reveal of Bash, we're getting closer. All right, before I get more into the review of this episode, please go ahead, like this video, and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. I've surpassed 5,500 subscribers. I never thought I'd be here by this time of the year. I would love to hit 10,000 by the end of 2025. So every time you hit that button, you tune in, you hit like, it all helps me get one step closer to my goal of becoming a full-time TV content creator. So thanks for everybody who's here. And also don't miss my coverage of other shows right now, including The Very Dark Task on HBO, Gen V on Prime Video. And I also just dropped a review of Wayward. I've got a spoiler-free one up of why you should be watching this. And I will have a full season spoiler-filled review up this week as well. That one is on Netflix, starring Mae Martin and Toni Collette. And then coming up, I'm going to be talking about The Talamasca, It, Welcome to Derry, Fallout come December. Lots of great TV coming up, so make sure you stick with me for all the TV talk. All right, back into the review. Something I found interesting, the way this episode opens, Loretta was narrating, talking about home and what it means to somebody. We end up seeing the smoke from her apartment, but what actually really got me the most was this album Tosca playing, or Tosca, an Italian opera. And that is a thread that we see both in Loretta's apartment and also in Lorraine's. What is the connection here? And just for anybody else who may not know what this opera is about, because I literally had no idea and looked it up, it is a tragic story of passion and jealousy. It tells the story of the tempestuous opera singer Floria Tosca as she fights to save her lover, Cavadarossi, from the sadistic police chief Scarpia. And there was a telling line in there that actually came up when I looked up this opera. I lived for art, I lived for love. Could there be a connection with this theme of the opera, what it's about, this very telling line? If we're talking about love and passion and jealousy, and then fighting to save their lover, is this a metaphor for Loretta? Is she going to be the one who has to end up saving Oliver from something? Who is she jealous of? And if the antagonist is a police chief, perhaps it is a person of power here who is the culprit. As I've been saying, it could be Mayor Tillman. We've not seen a lot of Keegan-Michael Key here, but he keeps showing up at the most interesting places, including Lester's funeral, at the hibachi place while Sophia and Charles are there. Could all roads be leading to Mayor Tillman? I definitely think it is a possibility. And it also makes me think there's got to be some kind of tie-in between the mayor and Bash, who, of course, now we know is the head of the tech company that is messing with that footage. And does a peach have anything to actually do with it? Is that supposed to be a metaphor or image for something? Or is it just a logo of a company? I don't know. What do you think? Drop it down in the comments. And I'm also wondering, who stole the missing finger? Who exactly is Bash covering for? As I mentioned, is it the person who lost the finger that's looking for it? Is it somebody that's trying to step in and save the day who's not exactly involved with the crime but is protecting somebody who is? We still haven't seen another person with a missing finger, although we did see Camilla wearing gloves. We know that Jay had lost his finger. Is the finger going to end up coming from somebody that we just completely didn't suspect? Again, the mystery is coming together. Imagine we're going to be finding out the answers pretty soon. I also love that the finger was stored inside of a Stanley. That is genius product placement, especially because drinkware is literally like the most popular thing amongst young people. And hey, older people too. I'm a proud owner of a couple of Stanleys myself. I just thought that was cute. I also liked that Thea and Mabel came back together, and she just happened to come back at a time where she was able to offer this information that she got a call from Lady Gaga. She ended up tripping on mushrooms with Seth Rogen, which I think is actually a tie into the show The Studio on Apple TV. There's a monumentous episode in season 1 where they end up tripping on mushrooms in Las Vegas. Probably one of the strongest episodes of the season. So I thought that was just a little nod to Seth and The Studio. And if it's not, I don't know, maybe it means something more, but this was all a catalyst for Thea to see that there was somebody breaking into Charles's apartment on the night before. Is it too coincidental that she just happened to see something? Is she making up the story to cover for her own tracks? We will find out once we end up seeing the footage, but what do you guys think? The highs from this episode, undoubtedly the return of Loretta, the fact that we get to see Thea again, because I just think she is so absurd, so egotistical, but I really enjoyed that her and Mabel were able to come to an understanding. There were obviously some crossed wires over the years, and Mabel very clearly was not into Thea and was almost hoping that she had some kind of involvement, but in fact she doesn't. I think the widows, we can probably rule both of them out at this point as well. We learned that they are working on a play together, Newsies, and Sophia was delivering some things for the play over to Lorraine. I don't see anything super nefarious happening here. The money that Sophia was bringing was her cut of Lester's work on Nikki's various businesses, unless this is all just one big cover-up and they do emerge as the suspect, but just my gut is saying no. Tying back to Thea again, the elevator scene when she's in there and gets caught singing her own song, and then Williams and Charles both start singing along. I just enjoyed that so much. I laughed out loud, and I've got to tell you, if I knew that song, I probably would have been singing out loud too. The way Mabel just rolls her eyes and it's like, why is everybody so obsessed with her? Mabel's jealousy was definitely getting the best of her. So again, glad that that all sort of came together. So again, I'm glad that relationship ended up coming back together, seemingly, and at least for now. I mean, even Detective Williams picked up on those whole middle school rivalry vibes between the two girls. So it was obvious that this was going to be coming. It came now. So thinking we can probably rule Thea out throughout the rest of these episodes. Another high, for some reason, I loved Lester the Robot calling Howard Daddy. It just gets me how into the robot he actually is and how quickly they were able to come up with another one after old Lester Robot was thrown out the window by Miller the trash guy. And might I add, the names of these other dating sites, we had Last Gasp, of course, and then Oliver and Loretta are sort of giggling amongst themselves before they start making out. Also had Silver Shrivel and Oldgasm. Out of all of these, Last Gasp, Silver Shrivel, or Oldgasm, which one do you think is the most comedic? I've just got to say the Silver Shrivel for me, had me laughing out loud. Let's talk lows. Charles and his dating and the testosterone and the earring and being stood up by Sophia, it's just becoming cartoonish at this point, and it really diminishes his character and doesn't make him look very smart. I don't love the way they shine this light on Charles. I don't love these storylines. Something about it just feels a little bit more inauthentic. And there's a lot of stuff with Oliver I kind of feel the same way about, but I'm just not enjoying the Charles stuff. But there was this clue about the rubber smears in front of Charles's refrigerator from whoever ended up taking that finger. Did it come from his rubber-soled combat boots that he thinks he should be wearing for some reason? Or is there something more to it? Could it be smudges from, I don't know, a robot's wheels that were inside of Charles's house taking the finger? And let's say for some reason the robot did take the finger. Is it doing it on behalf of Howard or for somebody else? Since Howard is in charge of that thing, maybe Howard finally does have something to do with it this season, you guys. Or it could just be that Bash is pulling the strings. We know he's behind the security footage, so maybe he's behind steering Lester into taking the finger as well to cover up for potentially Camilla. I also thought the TB cough joke when Oliver and Loretta were inside of Rainey's apartment, unless this cough ties into something important, I didn't need that. I thought it was actually pretty gross. My son has a cold right now and is coughing all over the place. It just felt a little bit out of place. And then back to that Tosca opera needle drop for a second. Does it foreshadow how love and art intertwine and somehow feed into betrayal and death? Who's betraying who? What is the art of it all? I'm almost starting to wonder, could Loretta have something to do with it? I think that would be a huge misstep, especially because we had Jan being a nefarious character before, having been involved with Charles. It seems like that would be quite redundant. My friends Matt and Jess mentioned in a video too, most of these killers on the show in general have been females. They've got to finally bring in a male killer here, because why are we just making all of these women killers? And I guess in real life, yeah, like men are typically serial killers more so than women, and men typically tend to kill more as well. So they're just kind of subverting that whole expectation of who commits those types of crimes. But it's time for this to be a guy. So maybe it is related to Bash. Maybe it is related to Howard. Maybe Howard and Bash are related to each other. Howard's got the robot. Someone's obviously giving it to him, providing it. Is Bash providing this to Howard for some specific reason? And maybe Howard isn't necessarily in on whatever the crimes are. And by the way, do we think that the same person killed Lester and Nikki? I'm really excited to see exactly what this footage holds. And we also saw the bird whistle that was dropped in the fountain when Lester died. We didn't really have a whole lot of bird clues here going on. But I'm also kind of thinking, Lester's a guy. I mean, yeah, he's older. For someone to have the actual strength to push him into the fountain, I don't think it's going to be a woman. I feel like it would have to be a guy doing it, unless they completely took Lester off guard and were able to just have the strength to get him in there. And since Lester the robot came on the scene so fast after Lester's death, could the robot have done it? If so, that is totally giving me Sunny vibes from Apple TV. That show was canceled after one season, a lot of robot involvement going on there. Was Lester trying to take out Living Lester because it wanted to take this job and fill a space that a robot will take up over a person? I mean, they still haven't gotten rid of Randall, so I don't know how tied in that could be. But with the theme of the billionaires and Bash being this tech mogul, maybe it's all part of this plan to take over all the New York buildings with robotic doormen and start infusing the robots in to maybe spy on people. There's a lot of high leverage people that have lived in the Arconia before. Big Brother's always been a thing, right? Surveillance. Why does he want Lester in this building surveilling? Are there other buildings that he's surveilling as well? But let's get into the clues from this episode. First of all, we get 3 clues at the end of each episode. For this one, it was the open house flyer or sign from Lorraine's home being on the market. The platinum album of these that Mabel ended up throwing off the wall when they were exchanging shoes being thrown at each other's heads. And of course, the peach. If we're talking about culprits here, technically, any one of these 3 people could be involved. Although I really, truly do not think it is Rainey. Maybe they are throwing us off course somehow here. I don't necessarily think it's Thee either, but the peach being there is quite telling to me. I think Bash has his hands in something and he's trying to cover it up with this robot and taking the footage away. What other footage has gone missing? There could be other things that we're not even thinking of or aware of that he's already deleted and that the trio may never even come into contact with. The missing finger situation, who took it? Are those black smudges below Charles's refrigerator and freezer actually a clue, or is it just an innocuous thing that did in fact come from these rubber-soled combat boots, which are just ridiculous, and I don't even want to picture him in them. As it is, him having the earring is bad enough. The edited footage, both of someone breaking in for the finger and also for the fountain. Again, I do think that takes Thea off the table a little bit. I don't know that she is guilty. I do think that she's just so tied up in her own world and herself. She's more obsessed with talking about Seth Rogen and Seth Meyers and Gaga. But the fact that this all happened confirms that what she was saying is actually true. The bird whistle in the fountain, that is obviously something very important. We know about the nicknames of the birds and the missing page from Lester's journal. Not a lot of additional bird clues in here, though, unless I missed something. I don't know. I imagine in the next episode, we're going to go back to the bird of it all now that the whistle has also been recovered. Or not recovered, I guess Lorraine has it. Who gave it to Lorraine? Was it the police? Lorraine doesn't even think her husband was murdered in the first place. That seems like an authentic reaction to me. Unless the fact that she actually works in theater and Sophia is helping support her means that these two women are actually really good actors and throwing everybody off base and diverting suspicion from them. I mean, it's possible, just not likely. And I've also just got to say, the fire stuff with Loretta talking at the beginning and seeing how sad it was for her losing all of her belongings, that's actually really triggering to me. I live in Southern California and know, unfortunately, a lot of people who've lost their homes due to fires, most notably the Altadena fire. I can feel how heavy that loss is. But also, was it really just from a tea kettle, or was there something else that might have started this fire to get Loretta back in town? Or did she have somebody light it on fire herself or make it seem like it was this whole tea kettle situation so she could come back into town and insert herself into this investigation? The tie between the operas, between Loretta and Lorraine, I do not think this is accidental. It could just be a thematic element where they're trying to present various themes of art, jealousy, betrayal, and all that, but it's obviously got to come into place somewhere. And let's talk about this literal dagger that is an artifact from the opera itself that Lorraine ended up pulling on Loretta. I'm going to say these two don't necessarily know each other. Lorraine looked quite surprised that Loretta was there in the first place. And I also just can't get over the fact that Loretta and Oliver were married at the same exact spot that Lester and Lorraine were, and Lester was saving up for an apartment in the Arconia. What is the correlation between these two wedding locations, and is there a bigger picture here? And this episode definitely had some absurdity, as it usually does. Oliver eating a banana and getting stopped by this petitioner on the street while he and Loretta are trying to chase down Sophia and Lorraine. Unbelievable. I mean, what kind of investigator are you, Oliver? We know you're not super capable of a lot of things, but like, come on. And big question too, is Oliver going to actually leave the building, take the offer, and him and Loretta are going to go live happily ever after? I feel like the Arconia is really a part of Oliver's DNA. I can't picture him moving. But if he does that mean the end of the show? Are we going to get another season if Oliver's not living in the building? For that reason, it makes me think, because they haven't said this was the final season, he's probably not going to sell and he's going to stay in the Arconia. But I'm kind of thinking something might go down with Loretta where they're not going to go and have this fresh start. And Oliver's just going to end up staying there all by himself. And maybe that will also bring him and Charles back together again. I think Charles is jealous that Oliver has somebody, and he's overcompensating with this whole testosterone situation, the earring, the dating. It's just all way too much for me. And I've also got to say, when Sophia pulled out that gun at the end, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like she definitely involved some here. But also, what are the odds that she has a toy gun and Lorraine has this dagger? Both women have weapons. Are we just supposed to overlook that and continue to think that they are definitely not guilty just because they're working on this theater production together, or not? And then another line I forgot to mention earlier, when Althea gives Mabel the pink boots and they say, what, did somebody drop a house on her? Referencing, of course, The Wizard of Oz. Comic gold. So overall, this episode definitely seemed to at least rule out a couple of suspects. It gave us a big reveal regarding Bash being in charge of this company where it edited the security from the building and is obviously covering some stuff up, including the theft of the finger and what happened at the fountain. Because this episode ended with Bash, I'm thinking the next one is probably going to end up picking up with the billionaires. Will it come to light that it was Camilla's finger in the freezer and Bash was trying to cover for her, because these three do have a bigger involvement here? And again, one of the lows for me, the whole Charles thing, the fact that Charles fell for getting catfished by Bash, somebody from Portugal, to get more information on the case. I'm just so over them depicting Charles to be this helpless man who can't see anything in front of him. Like, let's bring back old, lovable Charles and not diminish this character any further and make him look less intellectual, please. All right, what did you guys think of this episode? Do you have any new theories coming to light? Please definitely drop those down in the comments, along with any predictions, reactions to the episode. Did you like it? Did you not like it? You got any ideas for me? If you've got a good theory, I will mention it in my video next time. So definitely let me know what you think, and please do stick with me for more TV talk. Like I said, lots of great shows coming here at the end of 2025 and early 2026, and I am so here for it. Thank you for watching. Media Melanie, clicking off.